Oldham played very well, actually, didn't they?
I couldn't believe how well they played, but I did warn everybody beforehand.
Joe?
Yeah, we've done ourselves proud. I'm very proud of them. A little bit tired in one or two positions. One or two haven't done as well as they might have done, but over the whole performance, over the whole cup, they've been magnificent. Very proud of them.
Hi there, I'm Joe Royle, and this is my trip down Sheepfoot Lane.
Hi there, I'm Frankie Bunn. This is my trip down Sheepfoot Lane.
Hi, I'm Mike Milligan. This is my trip down Sheepfoot Lane.
Wembley Stadium is the dream of every club in the Football League to play here. In the Littlewoods Cup, they all start with a chance. There'll be heroes, hope and disappointment all along the way. This is the story of the Littlewoods Cup 1989-90.
Frankie Bunn gets his 6th goal of the night. It's 2-2 in the last seconds of the game.
Mike, you go out in the street with that,
No, not at all. I put a cap on it normally, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Right, good afternoon, gentlemen. We had a couple of seasons of, as Mr. Royle would say, seasons of discontent. And then we hit the League Cup and the FA Cup all in one season. It started against Leeds, but we got the momentum going against Scarborough and Frankie Bunn's 6 goals. Just before we start rolling about that, Frank, where did we sign you from?
Hull City.
Did you?
Yeah. I met Joe at Cedar Court Hotel, just off the M62 near Huddersfield.
Did you?
Yeah, and I was sort of desperate to get away from Hull, and had a call. Well, Brian Orton called me and said Oldham are interested. Would you go and meet Joe? So I thought, I've got to try and express myself here. So I put a suit on, turned up, met Joe, and he sold it to me within a minute, after meeting him. So it was all good.
How long was you at the club at Oldham?
Well, I only did, I signed December 87, but then I was finished by 1990. So it was a short spell, really, but probably most enjoyable.
You got injured, didn't you?
Yeah, I got injured at the start of it was at Ellen Road, Mark Hazelwood, just on the halfway line, just before half time.
I were there.
Yeah, and I think I did my lateral ligaments and a bit of cartilage damage, but when the surgeon went in, he said, you're going to have a couple of years. So I didn't really believe him, but he was right in what he said. So I had several washouts, and then I had carbon rods put in to try and encourage cartilage growth, but that didn't work. So I spent a year trying to get back without playing, but then that's eventually called it a day, which was certainly a sad day for me.
Now, we'll pop over for a little introduction with the skipper, Mike Milligan. Mike?
Yes, hello, right.
Did you come through our youth team at Oldham?
No, basically what happened, I got released from Man City, and that's what happened. As soon as I left school, absolutely devastated. And 2 years, or a year and a half, I hadn't done nothing. So I was working on the building sites and one thing and another. And out of the blue, I got a phone call from Alan Grafton from Manchester County, the FA, asking me, is a spare midfield place to play. We played Liverpool County on the Sunday. And I said, look, I haven't trained, I haven't played for a year or so. He said, no, I'll come down, So anyway, I played in that game. In the first 20 minutes, I had cramp. And but there was a scout there from Oldham called Jim Castle. good friend as well, and hope he's well, Joe. But
he's doing great, Millie. He's doing great, mate.
Superb. Yeah. So from that day, he basically he asked me to come for a trial on the Monday, and the rest is history from there. I could tell you a few stories about that, but I'll just keep it simple here. Within 4 days, the gaffer signed me. So just turned 18 as well, just turning 18, and the rest is history after that. So that's how it all started.
That's why I couldn't find you. You've been on a building site for 18 months. Lots of fans don't know that.
That's the name of the pub, the building site.
The one?
I said that's the name of the pub, the building site.
But when I went to Oldham, I thought it looked like a building site anyway, Boundary Park.
Just steady on now. Outrageous. Anyway, no.
Funny there, you know, because Millie probably made his debut against Liverpool in a pre-season. And he'd been a little bit poorly with shingles, but even then, you know, stepping up at that level, you could see there was something about him, and really it was a matter of time before he got in the team.
Yeah, it was. Now your CV, Mr. Royle, we all know it. Arriving on the back of a wagon at Oldham.
That's not quite true.
Norwich.
Arrived in the cabin of a wagon.
Oh, hey, listen, it sounds better on the back of a wagon, doesn't it? To Oldham.
The truth interfere with a good story, yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. Right. So we played Leeds in a double legger in the first round. I've forgotten all about that the League Cup, the first round, was 2 legs. And I just couldn't understand why we went in, after beating Leeds, why we went into the Scarborough game as underdogs, but they'd beaten Chelsea. And there's a lot of euphoria about Scarborough, but that's where it all began for me. And we have Frankie here holding the record of 6 goals in a competition like the League Cup, and he reckons it'll never be beaten. What will be beaten, and I just can't understand it. There's that many people saying how many assists they did for you. Andy Barlow claimed 5, which you dispute. He said he put 5 on your head. The only bloke telling the truth is the skipper. He's claiming 1.
Andy Barlow used to get a nosebleed when he got around the opposition's box. I don't know how he set 5 up.
Yeah.
It was an unbelievable night. I think the first one was Rick, and the goalkeepers fumbled it.
That was a tap-in as well. Good.
Yeah, it was a little tap-in from about 6 inches. The second one was a corner from Neil Adams. Third one was a cross from Rick. Fourth one, Millie put me through, just on the halfway line, 1-on-1 with the keeper.
Well done.
Fifth one was Dennis Irwin, marauding down the right like he used to do with a plum. I just sneaked in front of Stitch, crossed the near post, was the 5th. And Andy Barlow actually crossed for the 6th one.
Did he?
In the last minute, yeah.
Do you watch it every day, Frank?
No, but I can show you the clips if you want to see them.
I bet you can.
Should you have passed it to Stitch, the one I passed you when you went through?
The 4th one.
1-on-1, the 1-on-1 when I passed you.
My eyes lit up. So I weren't going to pass it there. So
I like it. All right, brilliant.
Ashley scored against Leeds as well, I think, Roy. We used to love playing at Ellen Road.
Oldham. We did.
Yeah, it was a lucky ground for us. And the previous clubs I played for, I tended to score, so it was a good place for me to go, Ellen Road.
Oh yeah, well, I'd forgotten about that at Ellen Road.
I remember Willie and Joe working with us on the Monday before the game, and Willie was saying, you know, they hold a high line, you know, they try and condense everybody, get amongst you, just make sure you stay on side. But it's going to be a tough game, and obviously, you know, they'd just beaten Chelsea, so they were sort of flying high. But the evening itself was an unbelievable evening. 6 chances, 6 goals. So can't do any better.
I can't believe you went offside with a chin like that, though, Frankie. I tell you, the linesman must have been blind in them days. Yeah.
Hey, I give him 4-yard start. That's why 4 yards with this VAR. I'd definitely be offside for all my goals.
Yeah, you just answered the question. I catch you all the time. Got no chance.
I'd have to come from a lot deeper, huh?
Yep, spot on.
You haven't changed, mate. You're still a wind-up merchant.
The fans started to believe, didn't they, after 6-0? They were expecting goals galore. And I remember a friend of mine, well on into Joe's era and these FA Cup runs, took his nephew and he went, he dropped his nephew on and his dad with her, and he says, "How were it?" He says, "Oh, they only scored 3. It was quite surprising, really, but it's true that. And we'll go on then to the Arsenal game. My memory of that was, 3-1. We let them score late on, didn't we, really, in that game? Well, the thing that stood out for me was Joe asking me who was coming up from the Arsenal contingent. And I said, it's the manager and Tony Adams. And he said to me, just look at him in that doorway. And I tell you what, that doorway to that press room that we had up there then, his head was jammed against the top and his shoulders were on the side. And you stick bowled around him, it was like a 50-yard dash around him. There's no chance, had they? Getting past them in them days, although we got past them. I don't know whether Adams played that night or not. But they didn't. They had a pretty decent side out, didn't they, Arsenal, that night? It was in the days when the
full side, Roy. It was their full side. There were no.
Yeah.
I think it was George Graham. I said afterwards, we had a strong side out. The pitch is no excuse, and that was good because regularly managers would mention the pitch. Which they're entitled to say that, but we could play on it.
Well, you're right. It's one of the cup ties. The Aston Villa manager said, "We've lost, and it's nothing to do with the pitch. I feel Oldham will play like that on grass away from home."
He actually said the pitch is a red herring. Graham.
Yeah, he did.
It's a red herring. He said we haven't played anyone that gets so many crosses into the box, and they give you so many problems with the crosses. He was very good, Graham.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he certainly was. The thing is, he had that on a clip had told him, I think, on the CD, and it's quite, the whole game, and they interview him after on the pitch with his overcoat, and you're right, that's what he said.
Well, Roy, what the gaffer's just said there. They're talking about crosses, not just with Rick and Neil Adams, but the likes of Dennis Irwin. Oh my God, he could pass it like Beckham. He could cross it, unbelievable. And Andy Barlow, I'll say, yeah, he can cross it. But they got forward.
Just give the ball to Rick. Just give the ball to Rick. That's all you got to do. Just give it to Rick. Just stay away from him. You don't have to overlap. You don't have to underlap. Just give him the ball.
That is it.
Dennis was different.
I know. So it must have been a dream for the likes of Bunny and Stitch and even Marshy as well, playing up there up front.
Well, Marshy played up front in the Arsenal game, didn't he, Joe?
Yeah.
Yes, he did. He did in that game, and he actually started up front in the West Ham game.
Yeah.
We changed him, pulled him back at half time. Got another 3. Well, Marshy could play either. I mean, Marshy was a top player. He was a moaning beggar, but at the same time, he was a top player. He was a good guy. He was equally comfortable at centre half or centre forward. Deceptively quick. I don't think people recognise how quick he was once those long legs of his started galloping. He could go a bit Marshy. In fact, there was good pace in the side all round.
Yeah. Very long striding Monty Marshy. Ungainly, but they covered a lot of ground, those legs. And then we go to Southampton. We have We draw down there in injury time with an Andy Ritchie goal. And a lot of controversy about that because he played about half an hour over the referee, didn't he?
The referee told us, myself and their manager, before the game, he said, I'm going to play 45 minutes the first half, and any extra time from the first half will be added on at the end along with the second half. So they knew all along, you know, and they made a big to-do about it afterwards. Their manager actually knew.
Then we beat them, didn't we, and came up here.
I think
the West Ham game.
I think I scored in that one at the replay.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, Millie, you did. You got in the 6-yard box, son. Well done.
that's when you allowed me, Gaffer, as usual. Stay back in front of the back four. Especially in front of Andy Barlow. Protect Andy Barlow.
No, I remember also when Andy Ritchie got the equalised from a cross by Rick. I couldn't help myself. I came out the dugout shouting back to plastic in front of their dugout because they didn't want that at all. I knew that. And I think it was Ian Bramfoot in charge was there at the time.
I think I played out to Rick as well, by the way.
Well done.
There's a lot of claims going in here now, isn't there?
Somewhere.
It sounds like he was underrated. We all rated Millie, don't worry.
Yeah. Well, some of the fans have already texted me and said certain things. What they've actually said, you've got a stellar lineup today, Roy. Stellar. So, you know, you've got to... I should have told you, you could have got your hair done before you came on.
Them eyebrows, they're looking quite bushy, aren't they? Jeez.
Who? Mine?
Might as well use mine for them.
Yeah.
They're quite bushy, them, pal.
You're right, what you said about him at the start, Joe, about being cheeky.
Yeah, but that's not being cheeky, I'm just telling the truth.
Oh, yeah.
You look like Rick with that hair, Melly.
I know, that's what I said prior, before you joined there, Gaffer. Sorry about that.
Suit you, Mel.
Right.
Suit you.
You talked about playing Marshall up front against West Ham, but the thing was, you moved him, didn't you, Joe? You went 3 at the back, started the first half.
3-0 at half time. He was halfway down the tunnel again. Marshy smelling more goals, and I shouted, "Marshy, get back!" And he smiled and he knew because he was equally adept, as I say. And we got another 3 in no time at all. So you know, it was some nights. I remember that the lads were going berserk in the dressing room. And my mate Blackie was in the dressing room there. You know, he made his favourite shout there. You know, they were all going to talk about the kitty for the players. You know, we're going to get some new suits, this, that, and the other. And Blackie said, "What about the hangers on?" And
did he get one? Did he provide the suits?
He did, but we won't go there. Really.
Oh my God!
All right.
Wow. Woolen suits in 90 degrees of heat at Wembley, marvellous.
Yeah.
Can you remember the second leg, Joe, down there when? I know you don't want to talk about it when we lost 3-0. Can you remember the incident 20 minutes into the second half when Julian Dix took a free kick? It hit the bar and it going that hard, it landed back in the centre circle, that did. And Alan Hardy went white, sat near us, and somebody said to him, "Hey, Alan, why have you gone white?" And it's true. And he said, "I've just signed off £40,000 worth of Wembley souvenirs, because the way we were going then, if that had gone in, Joe, with 25 minutes to go, it'd have been like the Alamo, wouldn't it?"
Well, it was like the Alamo anyway from the first. What had happened? They'd sacked Lou Macari, the manager, after the 6-0, and Billy Bonds had taken over charge. Yeah. And he'd revved them up. It's a hostile place. It was hostile on the pitch. It was hostile for the fans, from what I gather. They were given a rough time down there, and I very seldom criticise referees, to be honest with you, but the referee was weak on the night. They got away with an awful lot. I mean, 3-0, they hit the bar, as you say, and had it got to 4-0, it was like the Alamo. It was, you know, but we held on in the end. We had to play a replay, as I remember, on the Saturday against Everton in the FA Cup.
That's right.
And I wasn't happy with us at all that night. I was having somewhat of a sense of humour failure in the dressing room afterwards. And Rod Adams, one of the directors, popped his head in with a bottle of champagne to celebrate, and he got the mood of the place quickly and went out with his champagne. We weren't good that night, to say the least. But, you know, it's half understandable, you know, that the boys have been...
It was an injury-ridden, weren't we, Joe? With a lot of injuries.
We were, but it was a poor representation. I was proud of the way we played and the way we were seen to play. And we didn't function that night for whatever reason. Probably mentally, we knew we were there. You know, they were never going to score 7, were they?
No. We nearly did, didn't we, when they cleared Roger Palmer's one off the line?
Ooh,
right.
Roger.
Yeah, all the fans thought it were over, and Tommy Docherty was sat near me, and he said it didn't go over the line. Because we were there with Pikey that night, working for Piccadilly, was the doc. Yeah. So there you go. I'll tell you what he did. What a decent guy he was. When I was president of the local Rotary Club, he came as the after-dinner speaker for nothing for me. When he was on a real pop for his after-dinner speaking, all he wanted was a Rotarian to go and pick him up over in Glossop and come back, bring him back and take him home. And he did it for me for nothing.
You want to see my first contract I signed with Oldham? Have a guess how much it was on then?
Too much.
I'm talking about Tommy Docherty being harsh, not Joe. That's genial Joe there.
That was a grant as well, wasn't it, Gaffer? European grant.
You came as on the government grant.
That's it.
We were paying, I think, half your wages, so that was about £7 a week.
Okay.
Is that true, that, on a government grant?
Yeah, he came on a government grant. Jim Cass had seen him play in this game, Jim Castell, and he liked what he saw, and he came and trained with us from memory, Millie. Yeah. And you know, people talk now about pressing and closing in a game as if it's a new phenomenon that just happened. Millie's game was pressing and closing. This is 20-odd years ago. So, you know, with him and Nick in midfield, or John Kelly was one of the early, you know, they realised the value of winning the ball in midfield, and they could all play as well.
Yeah.
I think Millie was great at intercepting passes as well. You know, it weren't just his pressing and running ability. He read the game really well. Well, the amount of interceptions he made was incredible. Terrific.
If you look at him and playing, he played a lot on his groins. He used to get sore groins occasionally, and that's not a funny Millie, you know, because he used to show them a side, and they'd take the side. It's like a goalkeeper showing one side he wants them to put the ball, and he did. His interception rate was terrific, you know. And don't forget, by the way, he played for 3 Premier League clubs, Frank.
Yeah, a lot of the boys went on to bigger and better things. No disrespect to Oldham. I think you assembled a terrific squad, which got better over the years, didn't it? You know. So, but the main thing for me was how all the lads got on.
The spirit was
unique time. The spirit was unbelievable, and we all enjoyed each other's company on and off the field.
That's down to you, though, Gaffer, and you know, and Willie and all that, and Bill Ermson as well, and Big Gordon. God bless him. You know, even right up to Stotty as well.
We played with a smile, Millie. You know, we had characters. There was all kind of nonsense going on. Wimbledon was a bit extreme. I think our lads got to throwing fruit around the dressing room and probably
that was Willie. That was Willie's fault, because we used to bring biscuits in of a Friday. So biscuits and cakes of a Friday. Willie's turn, he brings in a load of fruit. Marshy comes in and starts slinging it everywhere, all up the walls and over the clothes, and oh my God. But that was Willie, wasn't it? You know, he was a health freak, and he wanted the best for everybody. But terrific times.
His mate was a fruit salesman, and he used to bring us a load of fruit in. Yeah, I know. But what Millie said is very valid. You know, you could all play, but you had a great spirit together. You know, the wind-ups that went on in that lot are incredible, really.
It can't be repeated either.
No, it can't either, because the way you all came in, I mean, we were very fortunate with you, Millie, that we got you probably on the rebound from leaving City and playing local football. But others like, you know, Ian Marshall came out of Evans Reserves, Addo came out of Evans Reserves, Dennis Irwin was given a free by Leeds, and you've still got to shake your head. You know, it was a funny one. We were very close. Jim Cass and I were out sort of 3 nights a week, watching games, and then at least once a month we'd get together and you know, we watched Halifax in the lower leagues because they played on a Friday. We watched the 2 Manchester clubs, the 2 Liverpool clubs, and Leeds United. So that was our market. There was no point in us scouting down at Chelsea or Arsenal. They weren't going to come up here. But you know, when Dennis Irwin was given a free, Pete Gumby, their head of youth recruitment, he had a youth coach there, rang me up. He said, Joe, I know you like him, but Billy's giving him a free, doesn't think he's physical enough, and he's going to Chesterfield tomorrow. So I rang Stotty straight away, the chairman, and I said, you know, I'm not sure we need a right back desperately, but I think this kid's exceptional, and he's going on a free. And while he was thinking about it, I said the magic words to him, I think we'll make money on this one, chairman. Get him then, you know. And from the first moment, I mean, even the players know, you know, as Frank just said there, and as Millie would say, what about his crossing? He could play, Dennis.
Oh, I doubt. Quick as well. People don't realise how quick he was.
The whole back line was quick, Joe, wasn't it? I mean, you had Warhurst, Barrett, Dennis, Andy Barlow. You know, you could defend as high up the pitch as you wanted, and you could go man for man as well, couldn't you? Because you trusted
well, particularly on the plastic, Frank. You know, if you condense the pitch, as they used to annoy people by saying, we could defend on the halfway line. You know, with Marshy's pace, with Dennis's pace. You know, and Andy Barlow was sharpish too. He wasn't slow. And then you had Warhurst and Barrett to that. Size and pace gets you a long way, mate.
When they were on the halfway line, they used to turn sideways and invite them to knock the ball past them, didn't they? And then catch them.
Plastic, yeah. I mean, and then the chant came up, you'll never beat El Barrett, you know, quite simply because you couldn't. We had sprints one day at Little Wembley, and whoever gave it that nickname had a sense of humour. But you know, we had sprints at the end of a session, half a dozen sprints. I think Warhurst won all 6. I think, and the rest was shared out between, you know, Dennis, Roger Palmer, Earl Barrett. You know, but Warhurst was exceptionally quick.
Do you remember one of his first games, Joe? Was it at Portsmouth when he was breathing through his bottom at half time?
Yeah.
Gasping for air. You've turned around to Sauce and said, what have we got here?
He was a funny tale, because we'd taken Earl Barrett, you know, we'd rung up to take Earl Barrett initially on loan in one of our crises, Frank. And the manager then, Jimmy Frizzle, was sort of a temporary manager there at the time. And he said, you can't take him on loan, Joe, but can you buy him? You know, I said, well, see what dough we got. So anyway, in the end, we settled on 30 grand. And he did that well. He went off like a firework straight away. He was straight into it. And then later on, when we asked about Warhurst, I was at the game when he played for Man City's reserves and came off at half-time. But by that time, Mel Machin is manager. And Mel I knew from Norwich days. He was my coach when I was a player there. And I said to Mel after the game, I said, what happened with the kid? He was doing okay, wasn't he? "Oh, Joe," he said, "he's always injured. He's driving me mad." And again, poor Chesterfield, he said, "He's going over on a free to Chesterfield tomorrow."
Wow.
So I got home and rang Stotty and said the magic words. "I think we'll make money on this one." And he came in, and we soon realised that he had a hernia, he had asthma. He was quite seriously physical. We hadn't done a medical on him because he was also quick and because he was free. So, you know, it didn't really matter that much. Anyhow, in the summer, we got his hernia sorted out. We got him to an asthmatologist if there's such a thing. And do you remember doing pre-season over at the club over the other side of the road? And
The squash club, is it Maple?
Behind there, and we were doing these fartleks, which is, you know, you're running full pace and then you're slowing. And anyhow, I'm stood there with Willie. We had a fitness coach in, and I just saw this vision cruising round, and he did cruise. And I said to Willie, "What the four-letter word is that?"
Yeah.
And there it was, and he was up and running then, and you know, I think we got 750 for him in the end. But Paul was electric.
Yeah.
Yeah, he certainly was. Right. The Forest final. Can you remember anything about that day, Joe? Or did it just go over you?
Well, I don't know if you can see over my shoulder on the wall. It's still there, taking the boys out.
Yeah,
I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not there as a one-off. It's there all the time. I can. We tilted probably. We played 60-odd games that season, and we were tired. You know, Frank played with an injury, but he had to play because it was the League Cup, and he'd been a major figure in getting us there. So probably, you know, I asked him if he was fit, and he was undecided. So I said, "You playing?" You know, bless him.
Well, Andy Ritchie said he played with the largest blister he'd ever seen in his life.
Yeah,
Is that right, Frank?
Oh, yeah.
Was that in his pocket?
Not my pockets. I haven't got deep pockets. You're talking about Stitch.
That's what we're talking about, Frank. Sorry,
You know him so well.
I'll answer that one for you, Frank. No, we just done a deal with Mizuno, didn't we?
Yeah.
The boots should have arrived a week or 10 days prior to the game, and I think they arrived 2 days prior to it or the day before.
Yeah.
So we basically wore new boots on a rock hard surface. And that is the reason why absolutely shocking in the end. That's even though we still played through our art, whatever, but the fact is that's why we had blisters.
So the boots.
Millie, did you have operation straight after the game? Soon after? Was it you or Den?
No, that might be. No, I was fine. No, I was fine. No, I didn't have any ups.
Marshy didn't play, of course.
It was Marshy. Marshy was injured as well. He got injured. I remember him kicking the door before on the day. And it was just the way back. No, that was later on. Yeah, later on. Yeah, but no, the morning of the game as well. He kicked the door. He didn't get injured because of that. He was injured prior to that.
Just injured the door, did he?
Yeah.
You know what, Roy? I'd always thought on that game that we'd underplayed anyway, which we did from our best. But I've looked back at it a couple of times, and we were still better than them on the day.
Well,
just didn't have our firepower at the time.
Well, I was there in all the euphoria with Fred Austin in the press agency and Paul Ince. They didn't go in the press box. We took our wives that day. And we were sat in the stand, but it washed over me, the game. And I didn't realise how well we'd played and that we were the best side till I watched it back when I got home. I videoed it. We had videos.
I mean, I couldn't be disappointed because we got there, you know, and we'd also played in a semi-final when we, dare I say, should have beaten United as well, certainly deserved to. And so we'd had a magical season. We still had a couple of games left to play in the season, but, you know, quite honestly, it was no time for regrets and that. It was just the time to appreciate what the lads had done. And this, to be fair, the town did that. There was a great reception, the town hall.
Yeah,
Blackie make the bench.
We might have a picture of that as well.
Blackie and 6 others.
Yeah.
Well, we might as well dine out on that.
It was a unique football club at the time when it was everything about it was just fantastic. Like Millie said, from Sandra, the wash lady, right up to Mr. Stott, all the staff, players. I mean, it was a fantastic place to be.
Well, it was, like Joe said, it was a pinch me season, wasn't it? Another one of his lines were cues at Oldham and things like that. But it was true. I mean, going back to the Southampton game, I remember Bob Young from the Chronicle coming downstairs to me from the press box, and he said, "Right, come and have a look at this." I said, "What am I looking at?" He said, "Look at that." And the Chaddy end was full at 6:30 against Southampton. Absolutely chock-a-block. They closed the gates at 6:30. The local authority had made Stottick close them. But he used before the computer, he used to send a runner down and get another 200 in before they shut the gate.
I was going to say.
and that's true as well.
I think when I first signed, I think the first home game there was about 3,500, and I think we were about 4/5 from bottom around that time at 87 December. And it soon kicked on after that when all the various players came in. I mean, the whole place was transformed.
Frank, you're being slightly modest there, because I do remember your debut with Stitch up front. I'm pretty sure it was at Bournemouth.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
I always watch the game in the stands, to get a good view of what's happening first half. I remember just sitting there with a big smile. The pair of you just hit it off from the kickoff. You had an appreciation for each other. You could both run without either of you having what you call breakaway pace, but more importantly, you could both handle the ball, and that was so important on a plastic pitch. It was honestly, it was a seminal moment. It was going to be a turnaround for us. You and Stitch together. It was. I could tell that from the start, and you became great friends as well, which is always good.
Yeah, we did. I think we all were, Joe. We all got on so well. There was no, big heads within the changing room. Everyone got on with it. We mixed well, like I said, on and off the pitch, as you know. But it was certainly probably the most enjoyable time, of my period of football.
And the thing is, if there was any arguments, we always made sure that we all got it sorted on the Tuesday club. I think that was that. Anyway, so we made sure we ironed everything out. If there's any
there's a few casualties in that Tuesday club, Mill, I think.
What was the Tuesday club?
You know that, Gaffer.
You know, Gaffer, you know. You knew where we were all the time.
Spied everywhere.
Do you remember that time we did that record with Cannonball?
Oh, Cannonball. Oh, my, I feel like Cannonball now.
Oh, wow. So we finished doing that. That was like a Thursday afternoon after training. And someone's gone, fancy a bit of lunch. I think we were away at Middlesbrough on the Saturday. So we've ended up at the Three Crowns. And to be fair, we behaved ourselves. We had a bit of lunch, a couple of pints, and we were off, which, if it was on a Tuesday, that wouldn't have been us, So we've gone and played the game on the Saturday. I think we got beat. And Joe's come in at the end of the game and gone, who was out Thursday? So everyone's put their heads down. And he says, I know you were out because you daft buggers signed a visitor's book. And I know the owner of the Three Crowns. So he always knew where we were.
Wasn't me, Gaffer, though.
No, never you, Millie. No.
Wasn't me, Gaffer.
Were you tucked up in bed, Millie?
That's it, exactly. Always in bed early.
Anyway.
I always said about Millie, I was never quite sure where he was on a Wednesday night, but I knew where he was every Saturday. So
that'll do, won't it?
That's right.
Yeah. Well, whilst all this is going on, we're in another cup competition, aren't we? The FA Cup. Played two games against Birmingham with a replay. And this is full of replays, isn't it? We've got an home win against Brighton, and then the Everton saga And it was a saga, wasn't it, really?
Trilogy.
Pardon?
A trilogy.
Trilogy, yes, it was. I mean, we played the second replay after the West Ham game on the day of the next round, didn't we, on the Saturday, because the wall had gone down at Rochdale Road and then they had to rebuild it.
Yeah. Didn't some of the Everton come in a bin or something? They got rolled down the hill in one of those big bins and then they slept overnight outside the ground or inside the ground. There was all kinds of shenanigans going on.
That's what... well, the wall fell over and we had to play the day of the... Was it with the sixth round? And then we beat Villa. And that was when he came out with Oldham plays like that, when they play on grass as well.
Yeah.
That was when he actually said that, when we beat them 3-0. We were beating all the top sides, wasn't we?
Yeah, we were a force. It was one of my proudest moments as a manager, really, at the end of that season. Okay, we hadn't quite got up either. The number of games got to us. We'd been to one final, we'd been to a semi-final replay with Man United. And I'd gone down to the managers do at the end of the season with no intentions or anything. And I think it was Brian Moore said, and then came the winter. And we were all warmed by a team from the town full of chimneys. And they prepared this montage of all our goals and games in the cups, and I was quite emotional about it, to be honest with you. It was nice to hear, and we became that season. I think that we were a lot of fans' second team.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we also, if you remember, the Northern sports writers had us. Well, they had you down at a dinner, didn't they, at the Portland Hotel? With Billy and Jim Cassels, if you remember, and I was invited as well. They gave me a pen because I was running about upstairs like a cinema usherette, because we were getting about 50 journalists to all the games on the Tuesday night. Because, you know, there was hardly any games being played on the Tuesday night, only our cup tie replays, and he was turning up. So on to the semi-final. With United. The second replay, definitely, Nicky Henry scored, didn't he, very early on in the game. It was well over the line. Yeah. Can you remember that? Yeah. I remember, and the referee was Joe Royle, and covering the game that night was Jimmy Hill. And the press room at City, they always used the manager's office for the press room. And when I would candles there, and we stood outside there, me and Fred, Earwiggin, and all he was worried about was, did they capture it on television? Was it really over the line? Did you see it? And Jimmy Hill said, no.
If I remember, Gaffer, the goal line, behind the goal line, the grass was quite long. And when it did, that's how it bounced back. If it had been cut short, it would have probably just got in. Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. And then we finished up with Mark Robbins doing us yet again, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, that was my fault, if anything, because we'd equalised. We'd pushed Taffy up front. I was very aware that we had games to play, and we were in one final. So it was really a bit of, you know, let's go for it kind of thing. And Taffy is running back after we've scored, you know, saying, shall I stay up? And I said, yeah, stay up. Let's try and win it. And, of course, Mark Robbins ran through where he would have been.
Oh, well, I didn't know you'd done that. I can remember Ian Marshall throwing the ball. Was it against Steve Bruce? To throw him. Threw it into his back and got the ball back and sallied round him. I can remember that. That was in the first half, I think, not long after Henry had missed that. And then, really, you know, with a span of 5 years and but we'd had promotions in that, and you weren't in the promotion side, was you, Mike?
No, to be honest, no. I'd gone off to Everton at the time, but as always, I still kept in contact with all the lads. Wished them all the best. I think it was Ip.6. You'd got to promotion, was it, Gaffer?
Yeah, it was.
So,
yeah, it was.
So obviously trying to celebrate, trying to get back with them as well. So it was great to see and thoroughly deserved. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it was great to see him where they belong.
Yeah.
You know, Roy. Just briefly back to the United game or games. I was so proud and pleased about our performances in those games because it just took the sting away from anyone who said, "Oh, they can only play on plastic," And I was very aware of that, probably a little bit too subconscious of it, But our performance on grass against one of the top sides in the Premier League, we went toe to toe with them. We weren't embarrassed at any level.
No.
And I was proud.
But even that game itself, because the first time they'd ever televised 2 cup games on it, the BBC. And they've done the Liverpool game. And I watched that game, and we had confidence as well. But for them to beat Liverpool the way they did, gave obviously us and the players more passion, more belief as well that we can beat Man U as well. So. Even though we knew that anyway, but that just added more weight to it. So it was phenomenal.
Well, I remember Roger Palmer that night coming out, or else it was the first game, coming out with his boots under his arm, walking past all the United fans down the road and getting on the bus. Go back to Sale. Remember that as well, dearie me.
That was probably somebody else's boots.
Willie used to
he's a regular visitor at Boundary Park now,
Oh, is he? Oh my! How's he getting there?
Yes.
How's he getting there? Because I used to pick him up every day. How's he getting there? Willie used to pick him up every day.
No, I don't know, but they take him in the sponsors' lounge and look after him. Let's put it
I
that.
bet they get a taxi for him. I tell you that now. He won't be paying for that.
There are rumours he's living in Oldham somewhere. I don't know whether they're true or not. Yeah, around Springhead area.
Roger.
It's true or not? Yeah.
That explains it all.
I spoke to a few people that said they've seen him roaming around the Springhead area. So
has he got
I don't know.
Whether that's true or not, I don't know.
Has he got a mobile? Because he never had a phone. He never even had a landline. Would you believe?
Well,
even back in them days. That's how bad it was.
Willie used to drop him on the corner. No one knew where he lived, did they? So Taff used to tell me the story. We pick him up on the corner, we drop him off on the corner, but we don't know where he lives.
And if there was any detours, we had to ring the next door neighbour's phone to let him know. That's the truth. That is the truth. Never forget.
In the early days, he hadn't turned in for training one day, which was unusual because he never actually missed training. He never got injured. He injured a few, but he never got injured himself. And anyhow, so Marion, the secretary, said, Roger's not in. I said, well, right, get his house on the phone for me. And this is not a word of a lie. I rang his house up, and a lady came on and said, yes, who's speaking? I said, it's Joe Royle from Oldham Athletic. I said, is Roger there, please? And she said, Roger who?
Incredible.
He turned in the next day when everyone else was off, and he looked a bit worse for wear, shall we say. But Atkinson and Ryan used to come in on the day off and run because they just loved running. And Roger ran them into the bloody ground. And he was sat there twiddling his thumbs afterwards, and they're down. Roger who, never forget that.
Dear me. Well, they were great times, Joe, wasn't they? They really was.
Look at the photo over my shoulder. Great times. Fantastic.
I tell you what, I'm glad you got that picture on there. Just detracts from the wallpaper, Gaffer. Ooh, does it? I haven't got my glasses on, thank goodness. What's it like, Frank? That wallpaper? Oh my God, that's not Jan's choice. I know that for a fact.
It's a bit stripy.
Yeah. Can't believe you're looking around, Gaffer. How long have you been there for? Have you not seen the wallpaper? It's been there for a couple of years now.
Well, what's worrying me, I've got these glasses on and I can't see the wallpaper. So.
I was going to say, is that what you call them? Bloody hell.
Dear me. Anyway, it's been absolutely a great afternoon and as good as that 5 years that we had. And I know you came back, Millie, and just tell you a little story that when you came back, we had Alan Sugar and Ozzy Ardiles in the game before the Norwich game when you had that unfortunate incident early on.
Head trying to head down on the floor.
Yeah. I was talking to...
Keith Scott completely headbutted me. And I had by the way, I had about 20-odd stitches, right? And honestly, I'm not joking. It just, blood come out. So I'm on the floor, Sauce comes over, typical Sauce. Come on. I said, come on, I'm all over the place, my blood coming out. Anyway, get into the physio room, the doctor there, trying to put stitches in. I mean, what the, I'm not just saying this, I swear, they were like shoelaces, the stitches, trying to put them in. I said, you're sure you go out and play? I said, what? He even wanted me to play under that. I said, no, I can't even play. Well, I would have done if I thought I could. But no, it didn't happen. But that's Sauce all over for you. Just get out there. That was the mentality back then. That
night, I'll always remember, I was in Joe's office again, talking to him, and there's a knock on the door. And it was Alan Sugar and Ozzy Ardiles. And he said, would you mind if we went down and looked at the pitch? The man did it properly. They didn't just turn up and walk down there. And Joe said, yeah, take them down. Because they come in through the front door and shown to the manager's office. So I took them down. There was one floodlight lit. And there was an heavy drizzle. And it looked, without the other lights on, like a coating of silt across the top of the pitch.
Billy, would Ozzy be the best you played against?
Would what, who?
Would Ozzy Ardiles be the best you played against?
I've always said this. Everybody asks me that question, Gaffer. There's only one, and that's Brian Robson by country mile, by the way, as well. Yeah. Brian Robson. As soon as I seen his name on any sheet, team sheet, I was like, oh, he's playing. He had everything. He was stealth. He was just up and down everywhere. Now Brian Robson by country mile. He was brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, in that Wembley semi-final, they brought him on. He stood in the centre circle and just punted it into our goal area, didn't he, Joe?
Yeah, it's top player, Robbo. I played against him when he was a kid and actually sold him a freezer, believe it or not, but that's another story.
Well, you disappoint me, Frank, that you haven't got the match ball behind you on a plinth signed.
It's
like Joe's got the Wembley trip behind him.
Got it underneath his chin.
It's around somewhere.
Do you want us to show the fans with your hair like that, or do you want us to just put the skill in?
Hey, that's me normal, yeah.
That's it. Anyway. Hey, thanks a lot, because I think we've had quite a interesting chat and an insight that a lot of fans don't know about, and they don't, do they? You know, what goes on here, there and everywhere, and Tuesday clubs and things like that. So,
Roy, they still don't.
No, I know that. I'm well aware of that. Anyway, thanks very much, lads.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank
you.
Right, thank you.
God bless. Stay safe.
Bye.
See you, Millie.
Thanks, Millie.
See you soon.